Good morning again to those of you who came in a little bit after or later or in divine right time. Repeat after me. Who's your daddy? And happy Father's Day to all the fathers. My very own father is right here in the sanctuary. I'm so glad to say that. Who's your daddy? What does that mean? And there's my talk. You're absolutely right. Who's your daddy is a colloquial phrase that dates back, believe it or not, to the 17th century. Yes, that long ago. And at that time, it had a meaning that is neither relevant to nor appropriate for today's lesson or today's audience. So we're not going to talk about that. We're going to fast forward about 350 years and talk about what it means first in American slang. Who's your daddy? People throw that around a lot. It has two possible meanings, one of which is who takes care of you, who's your provider, and the other is who's the boss of you, who's in charge here, okay? The first one would be, for example, like the other day, I read a short article in the newspaper about the new Camaro convertible. Has anybody seen that? Wow, right? It's so beautiful, and I'm thinking, I would really like to have one of those. And in fact, I'll take it in red. In a perfect world, somebody, presumably my wonderful husband right there, would jump up and say, "Who's your daddy?" Meaning, I will run right out and buy that for you. So that hasn't happened so far. But I'm announcing it in case anybody else. I mean, Jim, Fabian, Jean, you and I have just met. Do you want to be my daddy and buy me a convertible? Any ladies want to be my daddy and buy me a Camaro convertible? Okay, no takers so far. Well, just make note. Okay. And then the other possible meaning about who's in charge, who's the boss of you can happen, let's say when somebody wins a poker game, who's your daddy? Or dunks a basketball, who's your daddy? Meaning, I am in charge, I have dominion here. But we don't care about American slang, do we? We only care about metaphysics, so we are going to look at the phrase, who's your daddy, and define it in metaphysical terms. So the first part would be, who is your source? And the second part is, who is the authority in your life? Okay. In the process of exploring this, we will answer certain basic questions about source and authority. And we're going to begin with source because that's where everything begins, especially in this teaching. What do we mean by source, which we always spell with a capital S? It's a synonym for God, right? For us, it's always a synonym for God. God is cause. God is the one and only generative power. God as the source of all existence. See, all people over all time have had a sense that we, as humans, derive from a higher level of being. That we are created by something greater. That we originate in something grander. The idea is that as miraculous as human life is, and it is, isn't it? We are miraculous. It surely must spring from something even more magnificent than each of us is individually. And that something is source. That's our source. Hence, the existential question, how do we have life, can be answered very simply as, by our source, which is God. Now, the conversation can't end there, can it? We're not that easy, are we? We need more information. We like to explore the depths of these ideas. It's not like we're going to say, okay, good, God is the source of all life. Now I can get on with mine. See ya. Oh no, we're back in classes, we're here on Sundays, we're reading everything. So that's what we're going to do today, a little microcosm of that, explore this notion of source, because there's much more to it than simply creating life. That simple explanation just won't do. Not only do we originate in God, as do all other living things, but God is the source from which all form proceeds. Not just us, and not just everything that lives, but everything we see, everything in our world, from people to health to Camaro convertibles, if I may put that out there one more time. It all comes from the same originating stuff, God, the source, okay? So when we say there's only one source, we're not just talking. We mean that literally. We absolutely mean that literally. And since God is the source from which all form proceeds, let's talk about form in terms of the good in our lives as people, as ways of being, and even as things. I always like to start with health. Health is a good one. Health has a source, and it's not doctors or medicine. It's not even healthy eating or exercise. Health has a source, one and only source, and that source is God. And the perfect health of divine spirit is ours for the taking once we align with it and allow it to express as our physical self, as the cells and atoms of our body. That's health, one source and one source only. Wealth has a source, and it is not our job. It is not our salary. It is not our bank. It's not our investments. It's not any of that. Wealth has one source. That source is God. We live in an infinitely abundant universe. And all that good is just waiting for us to partake of it. It's ours by divine birthright. So the wealth of the universe is our wealth when we align with it and allow it to flow through us into our personal world. Wealth has one source and one source only, and that is God. Love has a source. It's not other people, not even darling children and grandchildren, not personals ads or internet dating services. Okay? Love has a source, and that source is the creative intelligence of the universe, which is love itself. There's only one love. That love is God, and that love is my love and your love right here and right now. There is no other source of love. That is it. So everything has a source. In fact, everything has the same source. Wisdom has a source. Joy has a source. Everything in our life has a source, and it's the same one, God. Everything we call the good comes from divine spirit. Okay, what about the not so good? Where does that come from? See, I could stand here and complain, well, my Jeep is 7 years old. I don't have a Camaro convertible. Who's my daddy? I could do that. What about sickness or financial lack? What about any negative circumstance? Where does that originate? What is the source of those things? Okay, this is a very important question, and I promise that we will return to it. But first, we have to establish a premise on which to formulate our answer. We can't just think about it without some intelligence behind it. We need to think rationally and reasonably about where the negative stuff comes from. We need to be clear about the connection between our good and our thought, first and foremost. And we have to understand that, yes, God is the source of our good, but how often do we consider that God is also the source of our thought? Right? Okay. So for the most part, it's easy to agree that all the wonderful good of the universe comes from divine spirit, that it emanates from a singular source, and that it is ours by divine birthright. And many of us have a very clear understanding of the role thought plays in enjoying that good and inviting it into our experience. We know it belongs to us naturally. In fact, our teaching turns on that notion, doesn't it? That our thought creates our experience, that our good comes to us through the action and direction of our thought. But there is a crucial connection we need to recognize and explicitly state. Not only is God the source of our good, the source of all life, the source of everything there is, it is also the source of our thought. I really want to drive this point home because I wonder sometimes whether the primordiality, if you will, of our thought sort of escapes us. Is it such a given that we just take it for granted? You know, maybe it doesn't need further explanation, and maybe I am up here talking about it and overstating the obvious. But if it's in my mind, then it's in someone else's mind too, so we need to clarify, because I think many of us, including me, believe God is the source of all life and all good, and that our thoughts are ours and ours alone, that we're responsible for them, right? So on the one hand, we have the infinite in all its perfection, waiting to bestow upon us the good we know is naturally ours. And on the other hand, we have thought, which somehow spontaneously arose out of our own minds. Okay? To me, that sounds like duality, doesn't it? We have God and we have our thought. That's duality. Let's bring it back around to unity, because God is the source of everything, including our thought. No thought ever originated anywhere else except in the divine mind. Thought is an elemental force, meaning that it characterizes the power of our divine nature. All thought originates in the mind of God, and we access it through the faculty of our individual mind, and then we put our own personal spin on it. We put our unique imprint on it. Now we can ask the question again, and we can clarify it and expand it a little and answer it intelligently. If God is the source of all life and all good and all thought, then what about the negative? Where does that come from? I can't answer that, but Dr. Holmes can. Page 446 of the Science of Mind textbook, under the heading, The Cause of Human Troubles. Anybody read that recently? And why not? Dr. Holmes writes, the spirit must be and is perfect. From whence come discouragement, fear, doubt, and calamity? They cannot proceed from the eternal source, that perfect fount of life. Therefore, they must come from my own consciousness. They cannot be born of the truth. Negatives cannot be born of the truth. Divine mind is the source of thought. Perfect, unconditioned thought only. Perfect, unconditioned thought. Negative thought is a result of our own personal conditioned thinking. We are the ones who put limits on perfection. And then those limits, or the limited thinking, outpictures in our world as a negative effect, as the discouragement, fear, doubt, and calamity that Dr. Holmes is talking about. Who has calamity in their lives? We've got a lot of calamity going on out there. So what is the remedy for this human trouble? Dr. Holmes continues, I must set myself right with the universe, he writes. I must find my way back to the central fire if I am to be warmed. I must find the source if I am to be supplied. I must be like God if I wish to realize its spirit in my life. Now he's talking about conscious unity with Source, isn't he? And very beautifully. So thought is how we exercise conscious unity. I love how Charles Fillmore elucidates this idea in terms of the divine logos, which just means the word of God. But divine logos sounds better, doesn't it? He writes, oh, this is so fantastic. Listen to this. The firstborn of everything in the universe is an idea in the divine mind. The firstborn of everything in the universe is an idea in the divine mind.